Has the jury reached a verdict as to each count of the information?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
One verdict and one verdict only?
Yes.
Would you hand all of the paperwork to the bailiff, please?
This is the ones that you didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. May I see that too, please, Mrs. Chairman? Thank you.
Sweating bullets.
No kidding.
This guy in the middle's going, holy shit, he's going to pass out.
Right.
The only calm one's the kid.
And everybody's thinking, come on, Judge, what the hell are you doing?
The defendant will rise and face the jury and hearken to its verdicts.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse. As to the first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Wow. Wow.
Members of the jury, are these your unanimous verdicts? Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury polled? No. Okay. Okay, folks, your job is done, and we started just about 3 weeks ago. And I told you it could last 2 weeks and 2 days. This is 2 weeks. This was 3 weeks. You were a wonderful jury to work with. You were punctual. You were attentive.
That's what you call the shakes right there.
Yep.
And I can't find a seconder usually when I prepare this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this, pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
A representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele. You found the Backstory Podcast, number 108. I have my client and partner in crime, Mr. Paul Ripp, in studio with me today.
I'm here, willing and able.
And Mr. Russian is on the road in parts unknown. How are you, Mr. Russian?
Oh, if it was any prettier day, I'd probably pull over and stop and just settle where I was at. But I got to get to Texas, and so here I am, heading that way.
Drive safe.
So,
Thanks.
Mr. Rittenhouse was found not guilty on all charges in killing 2 people during the unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin last year. He's now 18 years old, and according to his attorneys, thinking about suing the president.
Oh, great.
One of the things that came up in the trial, and we're looking at an infographic on it right now, Raines, the judge, there was some issues when he was giving his jury instructions, and he ran the jury out and had a diatribe with the defense attorneys, which seemed like a repeat to me. And so anyway, I thought I would talk a little bit about self-defense and the use of deadly force under Code Section 13A323 of the Code of Alabama. So self-defense, use of deadly force, and these are jury instructions, mind you. There are little places where it says read the appropriate part, because you're not going to have a case where somebody's going to have all these different things that happen that give them that put them outside of the cover of using self-defense or deadly physical force in self-defense of one or someone else. So a person may use deadly physical force and is legally presumed to be justified in using deadly force in self-defense or in the defense of another person pursuant to this section if the person reasonably believes that another person is, and here's where it says read the appropriate part, number 1, using or about to use unlawful deadly physical force, using or about to use physical force against an occupant of a dwelling while committing or attempting to commit a burglary of such dwelling. Number 3, committing or about to commit, read the appropriate part. This is another appropriate part sub. About to a kidnapping in any degree, an assault in the first or second degree, burglary in any degree, robbery in any degree, forcible rape, or forcible sodomy. Or using or about to use physical force against an owner, employee, or person authorized to be on business property when the business is closed to the public while committing or attempting to commit a crime involving deadly serious physical injury, robbery, kidnapping, rape, sodomy, or a crime of a sexual nature involving a child under the age of 12. Or in the process of unlawfully and forcefully entering or has unlawfully and forcefully entered a dwelling, residence, subject property, or occupied vehicle, or federally licensed nuclear power facility, or is in the process of sabotaging or attempt to sabotage a federally licensed nuclear power facility, or is attempting to remove or has been forcibly removed a person against her will from any dwelling, residence, business property, or occupied vehicle when the person has a legal right to be there, and provided the person using deadly physical force knows or has reason to believe that an unlawful and forcible entry of an unlawful and forcible act is occurring. If the section above is applicable, read the following. The legal presumption that a person using deadly physical force is justified to do so does not apply if, number 1, the person against whom the defensive force is used has the right to be in or is a lawful resident of the dwelling, resident, or vehicle, such as an owner or lessee, and there is not an injunction or protective order from domestic violence or a written pretrial supervision order of no contact against that person. B, the person sought to be removed as a child or grandchild or is otherwise in the lawful custody under the lawful guardianship of the person against whom the defensive force is used. C, the person who uses defensive force is engaged in unlawful activity or using the dwelling or residence or occupied vehicle to further an unlawful activity. Or the person against whom the defensive force is used as a law enforcement officer acting in the performance of his or her official duties.
Mm-hmm.
So this is this says read the stand your ground instruction if appropriate. The defendant does not have a duty to retreat and has a right to stand his or her ground so long as he or she is justified in using deadly physical force and is not engaged in an illegal activity and is a place where he or she has a right to be located. Like if you're just sitting at your house sipping a cold beer, you know what I mean? The defendant is not justified in using deadly physical force if, number 1, with intent to cause physical injury or death to another person, he or she provokes the use of unlawful physical force by such other person. And I think that's where we're kind of getting to in the Rittenhouse case.
Well, I think the top one that you read there, where it says that he is stand the ground so long as he or she is justified in using deadly physical force and is not engaged in an illegal activity and is in a place where
like a public thoroughfare.
Well, yeah, in a place where he or she has a right to be located.
And so then number 3, the physical force involved was the product of a combat by agreement, not specifically authorized by law. So if Raines and I decide pistols at dawn, no one can, if we decide to have a duel with a sword or something and somebody dies, I can't say, well, I didn't have a duty to retreat. The defendant does not have the burden of proving that he or she acted in self-defense. To the contrary, once self-defense becomes an issue, the state has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did not act in self-defense. And we have some definitions for you if you would like to know what reasonable belief, deadly physical force, premises, and a dwelling are under Alabama law. Thus ends the classroom section, gentlemen.
And that is why Kyle Rittenhouse walked.
He walked. And, of course, there's been a lot of unrest across the country because of it. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So,
well, at least they didn't burn the town down.
True. So Governor Ivey joined A.G. Marshall in a federal lawsuit opposing vaccine mandates. We now know that is not going to be enforced by OSHA. And so all you guys that work at Ingalls, breathe a little easier. You're not going to lose your job on December 1st if you don't have the vaccination. They have Ingalls has announced they're suspending that deadline for its employees.
I would get the vaccination.
They didn't suspend the deadline; they extended the deadline, and they will continue to infinitely extend it.
Well, if I was a federal contractor and the federal government told me to do something, I would do it. But if a federal judge said I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't concern myself with it because I'm in the business of making ships, not being the president's political puppet. So, this week, the Dauphin Island Sea Lab honored the 3 Mobile County commissioners for, guess what, Paul? Their coastline environmentalism. Now, if you will recall, you and I went to a series of meetings that ADM had.
Right. I didn't
like
see
at
them
the
there.
Holiday Inn out on the airport perimeter or whatever. Didn't see not one of them. Matter of fact, the highest ranking elected official that I saw there was former county commissioner Steve Nodine.
Right.
Yeah. So nobody bothered to come out and talk about this environmental hazard that they're going to leave here on the banks of the river, and not even the Dauphin Island Sea Lab, if you can imagine that. And so they're all having they got to have dinners and give each other shit all the time. So why not just make up something fantastical like the Mobile County Commission cares anything about the environment?
I bet they're not swimming in the bay.
I'm sure they're not, and I'm sure they get their seafood from inland.
Right.
So while we're all covering each other with DNA, the Gulf of Mexico oil reserve auction will sell leases covering an area twice the size of Florida.
Man, those damn things are going to be everywhere. I hate that off Dauphin Island, looking out there and seeing all those rigs. I really do.
It holds an estimated 1.1 billion barrels of crude.
Whoa, 1.1 billion.
That's right. I don't see anybody dressed up like a Native American with a tear rolling down their eye. Just business as usual for the Biden administration and the Department of Interior.
How much of
While
that?
we hand wring about environmentalism.
Well,
And which one of our 10 legislators should we call, Paul? Because, only 2 of them actually touch the water.
right.
The rest of them are sitting up in Grove Hill and wherever else. Like, they really don't care. I mean, it might screw up their beach trip. So, speaking of scum, so it turns out that, when you in jail, Rains, and you talking on the phone, they can listen to you.
Duh.
Sure.
And so, apparently, Hubbard is still trying to pull strings from inside the prison. He's calling legislators and doing all this kind of stuff. Right?
Right.
What? Okay, so anyway, he's asked to be released early, right? And he wrote this letter saying how sorry he was and he's learned his lesson. So they use the same tapes and they say, hell no, he's not sorry. He was calling everybody and saying, why didn't you have my back, you SOB? And this is a bunch of BS.
Right.
So anyway,
I hope he serves every day.
let's hope that he
How much
cools
more
his
time
heel.
he got,
He's got another year at least. So, Raines, you remember old Joel Greenberg, the Matt Gaetz adjacent guy who was the tax collector for Okaloosa County or wherever?
His running.
Hell yeah, the cocaine king of Crestview.
So he is singing, and so the latest indictments coming from his indictment are these 2 guys that were involved in a real estate fraud scheme. So, I don't know if we're going to get Matt Gaetz, but we're going to get a bunch of Matt Gaetz cronies adjacent.
I was going to say everybody around him probably.
I wonder if they went on the trip to the Bahamas with all the strippers and cocaine on the private plane. All right, so everybody familiar with Fort Benning,
Right.
Columbus, Georgia? So their district attorney over there was being prosecuted because he like went to witnesses and said, say this, and went to cops and said, you need to testify Yaron way, right? So usually they're taking money and doing things the other way. This guy violated his ethical obligation to the taxpayer by doing naughty prosecutor stuff. So they have, like, in the middle of the trial, there were law enforcement officers and other assistant DAs that got up there and testified against him. And in the middle of the trial, he goes, hey, wait a minute, I want to resign and plead guilty. It started piling up on him. So anyway, they'll be looking for a new district attorney right across the line in Columbus. And on other news related to law enforcement in our area, one of our circuit judges here in Alabama, Jefferson County Circuit Judge Tracy Todd, is accused of abandoning a role of neutrality in violation of judicial ethics. And all I can say is that sounds like a family member was involved.
Right,
you know?
right. Ethics, huh? Ethics. What a joke.
So, Raines, are you familiar? Did you know that we have a law on the books, a statute that says if you're consuming illegal drugs and you are pregnant, you are committing a crime by subjecting your unborn fetus to these drugs. You familiar with that?
Yes, I am aware of that. I'm also aware that there is a law on the books, or a lack of law on the books, that says if you are pregnant and consuming illegal drugs, you can't be prosecuted or even told to stop.
Well, State Senator Clyde Chambliss, who is the person who wrote the law, is upset, found out about this woman's case, and has introduced a bill, or intends to introduce a bill, that would keep people from being prosecuted in just that situation.
Right.
But Alabama's chemical endangerment law was never meant to be used this way, but it's like everything else. The damn law enforcement people, they'll use anything at their disposal to get handcuffs on somebody to get them in the system, because that's what pays for our Tahoes.
Everything.
Right. And so, you know, legislative intent, but I guess Lauderdale County District Attorney's Office is at a lack to charge anybody with anything, you know. I just don't get it. Oh, at the same time, Alabama corrections officer is sentenced to 87 months for, guess what, Raines?
What's that?
Trying to smuggle 500 grams of meth into the William Donaldson Correctional Facility in Bessemer, Alabama.
God.
Talk integrity all the way around.
87 months. Woo.
Okay, so the Guardian newspaper is reporting that Facebook has sent communications to the LAPD to end social media surveillance via their platform and to stop using fake accounts to try to catfish into people to committing crimes. You know, it's bad when the shittiest people on the planet say, please quit misusing our stuff.
LAPD.
Right. All right.
That sort of thing is never going to stop. It's always going to be used, because whenever I hear about Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whoever saying, well, we don't want you using our platform to catch crooks, that's not what we're here for. I harken back to the mid-1980s and the Breakfast with the Yankees project in New York City. Are y'all familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that. Oh, yes, I am. It was all the
you
people
are.
that had, yeah, it was New York, and they said
They
everybody
had a warrant
gets
round up.
tickets, right? Come to the
Right.
stadium.
Right.
I do remember.
No, it goes to say it was a convention center. And they had it all set up, balloons and everything else. You walk through the door and they mailed a ticket for this to have breakfast with the Yankees. You would get a face-to-face meeting with the starting lineup of the New York Yankees. Autograph session, everything else. And all you had to do was show up and show them this ticket. Well, you show to the door, buddy, there was band playing and everything. All right, go Yankees. Yeah, New York. And as soon as you walked through those double doors, it wasn't the New York Yankees waiting to see you on the other side. It was the New York Police Department.
Handcuffs. Handcuffs.
And they rounded up like 900 people in the first day.
I thought that was pretty clever, actually.
So I want to talk a little national news real quick. Biden, of course, signed the big infrastructure plan on Monday.
President Biden.
Right.
Yeah.
President Biden
signed
signed
the
Right.
sweeping $1 trillion infrastructure bill on Monday, the most important step in a generation towards upgrading the nation's roads, ports, rails, pipes, power lines, broadband cables, and more. So we have a little infographic. Key projects in the $1 trillion infrastructure bill: $73 billion for the electric grid, $66 billion for rail, $65 billion for broadband, $47 billion for climate resiliency, $27 billion for environmental projects. That sounds kind of broad. $15 billion for removing lead service lines, $7.5 billion for electric vehicles, and I think those are tax credits, most of them. And then $2 billion for underserved rural areas, which half the county is and half isn't. So
Right.
the interesting thing is, I see this Fox News story the other night, and they say Alabama will get billions, but the I-10 River Bridge remains far from a guarantee.
Well, remember, they didn't want federal funds to begin with. Jack Burrell said they didn't want federal money. Now they need federal money.
Another example of why we need better leadership.
Right. And the other thing, too, was they were told on the bridge project that they had to have a plan in order to even be considered. Nothing has been presented whatsoever.
So after getting all his initiative signed and everything and taking he doesn't go to the Bahamas or something like that. Oh no, Biden takes a nap and has a has a colonoscopy. And Raines, I'll let
And
you
we
have your
had,
moment.
for the first time in the history of these United States, for 1 hour and 40 minutes, we had the first female president ever
Right.
as chief executive of the United States of America.
Like it or not.
Well, it's a
Whether
fact.
you want to admit it or not, buddy, I got a big old poster board with the 25th Amendment printed on it, and you can weep and wail and all the pearls you want, but it went down.
So you guys remember the September jobs report? Record number of U.S. workers have quit their jobs, 4.4 million. So this week, Governor Ivey tweeted, "Good news for Alabama. Our October unemployment rate represents the lowest number of unemployed persons recorded in 2021. We hold steady at 3.1%. And, of course, these are the people that they're still counting. You see, if you
Right.
stay out of the job market for so long, they no longer count you. And so a good rule of thumb is about 55% of your population is a working age individual and has a job or could have a job. The other 45% are sorry ass people, old folks, and young folks. So that gives you some idea of what we're looking at. Some of the Black Belt counties and over in Mobile County, you get on up there, but Birmingham, Montgomery, the Wiregrass, Baldwin County, we're all under 3%. And I really wish we knew exactly what it was. So if you want to check out and see what's going on this holiday season, let's see. Fairhope lit their Christmas light this week.
Right.
Mobile did. It seems like the 1st of December they start doing that stuff in North Baldwin County. But so Raines, more history lesson stuff. So the list of the sites and peoples visited by Hernando de Soto expedition, 1539 to 1543. In May of 1539, de Soto left Havana, Cuba, with 9 ships, 620 men, and 220 horses. They landed in Charlotte Harbor, Florida. Thus began their 3-year odyssey through the southeastern United States, for which De Soto and a large portion of his men would not return, and that just shows you where they came in, and they went all over the place. And right here is where we're concerned about, this place called Maubila. You see that, Paul?
Yep.
So anyway, this Florence archaeologist believe he has found Alabama's Holy Grail. Charles Moore stands for a portrait Wednesday with a copy of his book, The Long Road to Maubila. So this is where Maubila is where De Soto met his Waterloo. he he finally came across the wrong bunch of Indians, and of course the Indians suffered mass casualties, but the Spanish didn't come back for 200 years,
right?
Because of this ass whipping they got. So anyway, just interesting little blurb about him and this new book that just came out, The Long Road to Maubila. I highly suggest you go read it.
Hell, I went as a Boy Scout to Camp Marbella at one summer camp. Caught heat stroke so bad, I didn't come back to Alabama for 10 years after that, so I know how you feel.
Where's that?
Maubila is actually in Clark County, but they're pretty sure this is in Marengo County where they're digging.
Moundville?
That's not Moundville. No, that's the thing. Nobody ever thought to look there.
Yeah,
they always looked in the river valleys and stuff, but it wasn't. It's up in the piney woods, as we call it around here. So 47.7 million infected in the U.S. with SARS-CoV-2, with 771,044 deaths.
And 100,000 suicides. No, 100,000 was the opioid.
Well, no, I think it was opioid overdose.
Right. Now, the opioids were first, pharmaceuticals second, cocaine was third.
So, speaking of drugs, Pfizer says they have a new pill that eliminates the need for hospitalization by 89%. And this week, Dr. Mark Gottlieb, do y'all watch Meet the Press? He's their contributor about coronavirus.
Right.
I think it's hilarious that he is on the board of Pfizer, and he's on CBS as an independent expert. It's a bunch of horse shit.
Well,
so anyway, he's saying not getting your booster is the biggest missed opportunity of the whole pandemic. We should be telling everyone to get their boosters.
Well, if you got the 2 shots, might as well get the booster too.
I mean, why not? If your ear's not ringing yet, maybe the third one will make it do it. So after our talk last week about this being in deer in Iowa or whatever, well, now it's all over the news. Everybody knows that deer have COVID. Almost all of them. And those are your hot spots by county last week. Hot spots by county this week. Looks like Tuscaloosa. Maybe getting 100,000 people together in the stadium is a bad idea, Paul.
Right.
So there's our total 37,940 cases in Baldwin County, 586 deaths, and only 3 in the last 14 days.
There is a surge going on across the United States right now.
And we have 95 new cases this week, and we've been averaging about 80. So we're up a little bit.
Right.
So just trying to keep y'all up on the only interesting race that we know about, Katie Britt, and obviously she got $5 million and is blowing it. Have you seen the billboards everywhere?
Oh, right.
She's got more billboards than Alexander Shannara, and she's up by 2 points. All right, Paul. I want to talk about something real quick before you get into your stuff.
Go ahead.
We've talked about the Baldwin County Major Crimes Unit and all the things.
I want y'all to know that the reason I'm so tickled is because I literally just passed a Shannara Law billboard you were talking about that.
Yeah. You can't miss those.
No, you can't. Okay, so I want to watch a little movie trailer real quick. Take about a minute of your time. And
which movie?
Well, you'll see.
All right.
So we're going to do some calibration exercises. To begin, just look forward on the screen and just follow my direction. Relax. Close your eyes. Keep them closed. Relax.
I believe God sees everything, and that He not only sees where you are, but also what you're doing and what you're thinking.
The point is to ensure that everyone is acting in a professional manner, as always.
These kids don't care about no camera. They know they being watched.
Come on in. take sides. Just remember that.
Bottom of set, bottom of set.
We're mixing apples and oranges here.
Oh, it's all AI. Yeah. This software is going to learn.
If you look around here, there are no secrets here.
The community is not at all interested in being surveilled.
This is all we asking for is to deter. That's all.
From what history does the future dream?
Relax. Open your eyes.
All light everywhere. So what do you think, Paul? You go check it out?
Yeah, I'll watch it. I don't know what good the cameras are, though. I mean, we're paying for the cameras, but the sheriff's department and police seem to be able to decide what we're going to see on the cameras that we paid for.
All light everywhere and the false promise of predictive policing. So they want all this AI and they want to track everybody and everything else. But, Paul, what happens when they actually have something on camera?
Right. That brings us to the McSharry
Dead to
case.
rights, no question about it. 30 witnesses. Everybody knows what happens. It's on video. And now, Mr. McSharry seeks to hold the Little Whiskey Christmas Club liable for his actions under Reigns. Are you ready for the drum roll? The Dram Shop Act.
All right.
Yeah, he's
well,
the one thing about McSharry and this whole thing, now we're talking about the Lagniappe article, Passing the Buck. McSharry seeks to hold Christmas bar liable for the lawsuit. Those of you that have been following this, and Paula Donardi is the one that got shoved off the bar stool. He has never apologized. He has never made any attempt to say that he was sorry about what happened. It's on film. Everybody can see it. And now he's claiming that he did it because he was drunk. And the reason he got drunk was that the bar got him drunk.
It's everybody's fault.
Except his.
But Mr. McSharry. Oh, and by the way, remember, he's on probation for the Knoll incident, right?
Right.
He's not supposed to be in a bar getting drunk.
No.
That's a violation of his probation.
Well, the other thing, too, is, he alleges that himself and Paula Donardi were arguing, and that's not true at all. There was no argument whatsoever. And he also alleges that she was drunk, and she was not drunk. She had just got there and driven there. So, he's still trying to put the blame on everybody else except himself, and he's saying that all of this, that she has ruined him and cost him money. And so now the only outreach that he's got is to sue the bar that he did this in, that he's on film. Wow. I'll tell you what, he's paying attorneys. He should be talking to the attorneys about what he's paying them. McSharry was convicted of third-degree assault and public intox in Fairhope Municipal Court, but he appealed to the circuit court. There, the assault charge was dismissed after presiding judge Clark Stankowski found Fairhope prosecutor Marcus McDowell made a fatal error on the charging documents. McDowell later allowed his own appeal deadlines to expire. Now, this was after yours truly and the mayor confronted Mr. McDowell at a city council meeting about the charges. And he's still...
The Train-wreck city council meeting.
Yeah, the Train-wreck. And he insisted even then, that he was going to follow up. He was going to go ahead and file these charges.
Where the mayor agreed with you, saying you need to do something about this, and then they all screamed at the mayor and closed the meeting and got up and left.
Right.
Accountability, transparency, all these things.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, Well, at this particular time, McSharry was very well known in the bar community, and nobody really wanted him in his bar because he was drunk all the damn time.
Hey, let me back up. This happened the night of Thanksgiving, and so here's McSharry's bar, and of course the reason he's putting some competition out of business too if he wins this, right?
Yeah,
because they're just right across downtown. They're a competitor. Right. So the reason she's a bartender down here at the Tiki bar, which is closed because it's Thanksgiving, and his bar is closed. So all these people end up at the Little Whiskey Christmas Club.
Right.
Which, and this incident happened Thanksgiving night / Black Friday morning.
And also, he goes into McSharry also claims that there was a settlement. And she backed out of the settlement. Now, you know very well about that, Harry, because I believe that settlement was proposed, and you knew about that. And and she told the attorneys then she was not accepting the settlement.
You have to be careful because I may have to testify about that. I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
But let me say something to you and everyone else in the whole world about a settlement. If there was a settlement, there'd be a check in her pocket,
right,
and a release in his hand.
Correct.
Alabama law is real clear on that.
If I were you and I was in Fairhope,
but hell, Alabama's law is also very clear that the Alabama source shield doctrine shall not be fuddled about with, and we've done that in this case too.
And
I will speak about that.
The way the whole
garbage.
Thing was handled from the beginning with Marcus McDowell, he should have lost his job over this, especially addressing the council and everyone.
You got to remember when you showed up and you said you screwed up, and he said, "I didn't screw up. It's not my job. I've never done a charging document before." Okay, well, whose job was it? And did that person get disciplined? Or they fired? I mean, there's a million questions that I would have had if I'd have been you at that microphone.
Right. And
they're never going to talk to you about it again.
No. Well, he's not very well known to be talked to any of his clients anyway. He shows up at court and they show up at court, and then it goes from there.
Well, if anybody ever calls me to depose me about this case, they will rue the day. It'll be a 10-hour deposition. I'll never stop talking.
Marcus McDowell is a good old boy attorney. He is the attorney for that council, and they'll do whatever the hell they want to do. And you'll see cases like this come up again.
I'm like getting physically mad about this the longer I think about this.
I know, really.
What else can you say about it?
But it's on film, kind of like the Spanish Fort thing, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we want all this information except when it's going to, when we could use it properly to prosecute someone.
Right.
And then they just want the information because they want to know? I don't understand.
Well, something on another note, the RIP report, there you go, District 8 for zoning. District 37 and Lawrence Road Group is another one that's looking for zoning.
Where are they?
They're on Lawrence Road. That's further down Section Street past Walmart. I don't have a map on 37. You can go to their Facebook site, though. And it is gaining more and more attention throughout the whole county as far as the need for zoning. So hopefully this time people are paying attention. If you haven't signed the petition, sign the petition. More importantly, when it's announced for the vote, please show up to vote, because the way it is determined to pass is the vote, the total number of vote, you have to have 51% of the total voting. So it can be an extremely low number, and you could still, kind of win. So please pay attention to the zoning in the area. Another couple of things, let's get back to Lagniappe. I thought Beltway Beat, what a campaign issue. This is by Jeff Poor. Now you have it. And basically, the campaign issue is education. And the problem for the Republicans is that they often overpromise and underdeliver. Can Republicans roll back the Democratic Party's dominance in the area of public education? Alabama lawmakers have had some success dating back to the 2010 Republican takeover. They have tried the conservative trick playbook of using school choice, charter schools, etc., as key issues with some success. However, it will take a grander vision to improve public schools in Alabama. You can reward and penalize the schools for success and failures, but the failing school systems are still here. And that is a continuing story of Alabama as long as I've lived in Alabama. And speaking of schools, Rob Holbert, hope he's recovering from his wounds, but Rob, the editor, has got a feature piece today on he's been writing about the University of Alabama trustees, and this should really resonate with a lot of people, because how often are we talking about trustees, board members, council members, all these people using their positions for personal gain? Well, if you read, first of all, Ashley has got Ashley Trice crossing the line between deserving and disgusting, and she's commenting on how hard it was for her to go to school and how hard it is for some people to get the money to go to school. And then here you think, the University of Alabama is one of the best in the state, and then you see this type of abuse going on by the board of trustees, who are supposed to be looking after the best uses of the school.
Okay, so let's talk about some specifics.
Okay.
They took the president's house, the former president of the university's residence,
right,
and they turned it into a bed and breakfast for all of these trustees and their family members to stay at when they're in town.
So where every one of them has a bedroom.
$4.4 million playhouse is what they call it in what Ashley calls it in her article.
Right.
Then there are all the lavish gifts, the police escorts, the national championship rings.
The police escorts, I thought, was a joke, because they go from one house to the other. The other building is called Pinehurst, and they go from meeting before a game or whatnot. They get big escort, lights blazing and everything to go just a few blocks. Then they got this elaborate plush box, which is outfitted with food. Like you said, it's really pretty damn disgusting, to tell you the truth. Now, Rob has done a hell of a job on this, and this is he gives an example, goes into two people that he spoke to that gives some inside information as to what's going on. I just hope that, somebody's reading this enough to where it does filter back and they have some sort of change. But it's a very, very intriguing article. It's in Lagniappe. Of course, Lagniappe's got, other issues besides politics. You got the music venues and food and so on and so forth.
I got one thing to quote out of here.
All right.
Dr. Richard Vedders, a distinguished professor of economics emeritus at Ohio State University, has written extensively about matters involving university leadership. And he quotes, "That's obscene. That's outrageous. I'm surprised the people of Alabama don't say enough of this enough. This is outrageous. I think it smells. I think it's inappropriate," he said, and it sounds like Alabama's going way beyond. I've never heard of police escorts for trustee members. Governors, maybe.
Trustees. Wow. That's what you're teaching your kids at the University of Alabama. Graduate and then become a trustee as soon as you possibly can for all the perks you can get.
Or the University of South Alabama president.
Right.
That pays about $700,000 too.
I'm sure that this is on one of Rob's series, so you could go to the series in Lagniappe and read the.
And this one is not behind a paywall, so even if you're not subscribed to Lagniappe, you can go read.
It isn't. That's
University
good.
Board of Trustees.
Well, I know that one other thing I want to mention, Harry, is I got a letter this week from the Office of the Attorney General, and it's about my complaint to Mr. Albritton. However, they do not, they reference my complaint as complaint.
They don't say your complaint in reference to. It doesn't say what it's in reference to, and nobody signed this letter.
And nobody signed the letter either. But this is what it says: "This will acknowledge receipt of your correspondence, which has been given to the appropriate person in our office for review. A determination will be made whether the Office of the Attorney General will initiate a formal criminal investigation." And then in dark it says, "We cannot, however, disclose to you any decision about your complaint. Also, please note that a review does not mean a formal criminal investigation will be opened. No further information regarding this matter will be conveyed to you, and we will not discuss this matter with you unless we need to contact you."
You ever dropped a pen down a storm drain?
Oh, wow.
That's what happens when you send information to the Attorney General's Office or Ethics Commission. You
Right.
will never see that pen again.
Right.
And it's probably going to disgusting places you wouldn't want it back.
Man, and this is the executive director of the Ethics Commission, just like the University of Alabama trustees. He's a trustee and was self-serving himself to the tune of $120,000, but that's okay. That's not breaking any ethics rules, is it? While you're an attorney, while it says in the document, no self-serving.
All right, so Rain's Christmas come early.
And one thing, too, the
yes,
biggest question in Fairhope going around everywhere is, why did Jack Burrell step down as council president? I've heard all kind of rumors. I would believe any of them. So any of you out there in listening land that happen to know exactly why Mr. Burrell, what happened to make him bail on a position he sat in for 9 years, we'd like to hear it. We know it's going to come out sooner or later.
No one should be in an elected position for 9 years.
Really? No, as president of council, too.
I know
Didn't
exactly
even
what
give
you mean.
Didn't give anybody a chance for 9 years.
Yeah, and just so you guys out there know, he controls what goes on the agenda. That's the power of the president of the council. All right, Rain. So Christmas 2021 sees the return of Tiger King season 3. Now, unless they're going through tiger feces looking for that squirrely bitch's husband down there in Florida, I can't imagine what they could possibly talk about.
Tigers.
Well, they're going to talk about how they all got pulled out of the depths of the animal kingdom and back into the land of the living because of the Netflix special. It's going to be a documentary about a documentary.
It's going to be like Tropic Thunder?
I think so, yeah.
So couple of things going on. We've been keeping you up on the Clotilda Project. A new Mobile theater company is holding auditions for the Clotilda Project. The name of it is An Ocean in My Bones. And the other news is the construction of Africatown Heritage Museum begins. The space where Darren Patterson walked home from Mobile County training looks quite different than he did years ago. 2 modular building segments and a mound of dirt now mark the spot of the future home of the county's Heritage House Museum in Africatown. And then this week, everybody from Africatown showed up at the city council meeting and bitched because all their properties zoned industrial.
Right. Zoning.
Okay, so we've talked about the Kessler syndrome, the ultimate space disaster, where you have a pinball effect of satellites going around the Earth. And just like on cue, the Russians blow up a satellite, creating a dangerous cloud of debris. And remember, we talked about the space shuttle.
Right.
They thought it got hit by a bomb, and they landed, and it was a piece of paint, like a fleck of paint, was embedded in the damn windshield. And that thing's like 4 inches of solid glass.
Man.
Yeah.
All that stuff's flying around up there.
And they just created, and you know what happens when something explodes, right?
Right.
In space, there's no gravity. Well, I guess there is a little bit of gravity, but just imagine how that debris field is going out and around, and you just think of it like smoke, I guess. if you want to think about the debris trail coming off this thing post-explosion. So leave it to the Russians. They're going to make all my worst nightmares come true.
And that was an experiment to see if they could blow a satellite up.
They didn't want us to. They didn't want us to know what was on it. That's what I think. They didn't want us to know what was on that son of a bitch, so they blew it up. Why not just change its trajectory and let it burn up in the atmosphere? Because it had plutonium or some crazy shit like that on it. That's why. Maybe. But we'll never know because they blew it up. Okay, so another great series on AL.com, Ancient Alabama. So 20 million years ago, they're hunting the largest shark ever. And which one was that, Rains?
Megalodon.
That's right. And so this is what the North America looked like in the late Cretaceous 75 million years ago. And notice that little coastal area right there, Paul.
Right.
So there's just a better view of it. But
top third Alabama.
Right. So then you can see right here through that same area that was coastline, you have all these different geological formations that are unique from one another, right?
Right.
So you get all this diversity right there in those areas that have been preserved. And so that's where they're digging. Kind of funny that it's the same area where they're digging looking for Camp Maubila. I mean, the Maubila place too. I believe it's somewhere in here. Because you see Escambia, Conecuh, Clark, Monroe. You know, and then you get on over here in the Greg Albritton district.
Right.
All right, I just got a few more for you guys, and we will get out of here. Alex Jones lost his libel lawsuit. Defamation lawsuits related to the Sandy Hook parents and families. And he's going to be living in a damn cardboard box, Range Russian. Don't you think so?
I do believe, yes, sir.
Yeah, I think he's going to be sleeping on couches and
it's good
shit.
to show
He's
up.
going to have to be out in the swamp with the gay frogs.
Right.
Well, if you listen to his theory about all that, he was saying it was staged, and he got into all this stuff about what's the Portalette truck doing there before all this went down. You know, they were setting up a command center before, and they were actors and dummies and all this. It was just terrible. The worst kind of misinformation, disinformation. And this is what you were talking about, Paul. U.S. overdose deaths top 100,000 in 1 year, and a lot of people saying it's because of the prevalence of deadly fentanyl and illicit drugs and the COVID-19 pandemic, where everybody sat around and said, what the hell, I ain't got nothing else to do. Let me try this new fentanyl stuff.
And a suicide every 11 minutes.
Yep, and so we're going to leave you with your moment of zen. California drivers rush to pick up cash spilled from armored truck.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You ever seen one of those things where they put them in the phone booth and blow it around? That's what it looked like.
To grab it, right?
Heck, yeah. All right, Range, you know anything else?
Yeah, I guess I'll start ending every one of our podcasts with a "you heard it here first," because I've been right about a lot of things, and I'm going to put this one out here.
He has.
How do you know that the holiday season has officially started in Belarus?
I don't know.
Because you start hearing Vladimir Putin's cover of "All I Want for Christmas Is You," Ukraine.
That's really bad.
To get money off of the freeway. This is literally insane. This is insane. Oh my god.
Oh my god. I would be out there too. I'm telling you.
The entire freeway just shut down through money.
Hey, I got one more thing.
Go for it.
From the court of public opinion does matter. Stay out of McSharry's. They don't even sell a Jack Burrell burger anymore.
That is disappointing because there's nothing that'll clean you out quite like a Jack Burrell sandwich from McSharry's.
The one thing I want to talk about mostly tonight is the Paula Donardi case and McSharry. Now, this with McSharry's been going on for over 10 years. I've advocated for 3 different people in the McSharry case. And Mr. McSharry is a public nuisance. This has been going on 10 years. He has an established police record. He's also a green card holder, for Christ's sakes. This council owes it to Ms. Donardi some sort of explanation, or you're going to find yourself sued. And the other thing is, I've come to numerous meetings where when you give an ABC license, you ask the police chief or you ask the police, are there any comments? Is there any reason this person shouldn't have their license? What's going on here? This has been going on 10 years. Is this how we treat women? This is on video. And then we failed, Mr. McDowell, failed from the beginning to the end on this thing, and the assault charge is supposed to go away. I find it interesting that the assault charge is going to go away when the assault charge would have taken away his license. Now we're being told that the intoxication charge is the same sentence, so it'd be the same thing and we don't have to charge him for the assault. This woman's got $6,500, $7,000 worth of medical bills that were presented to the city immediately. And nothing's happened. So now the citizens of this community expect that the municipal judge, the circuit judge, the municipal attorney, everybody erred in this to where Mr. McSharry walks. I can tell you right now, 10 years ago when I started this, and it was McSharry, I told him, I said, he'll do it again, and he did. And then it was Null, and I said, watch, he'll do it again, and he did. And now it's Paula Donardi. And in between there, he did it 4 or 5 times where he walked out or citizens didn't press charges. I think you're in a very bad position, and this looks horribly bad. I think the council should take some sort of action on this. Every one of these charges with McSharry are alcohol related. Every single one. And everyone except Null involves a woman. Don't tell me we can't do better than this. This is you. This is the council. This is on you. You can do something about this. And you should. I hope that you will read Untimely Filed in the Lagniappe and that you've been following this case in the Lagniappe. Because they are printing some very, very disturbing facts in here. We're not hearing anything from anybody as a justification or explanation of what went on. Also hope you read the Straw Man series in Lagniappe, because you'll see some of my future allegations starting to pop up by other people in court involving members of the council. On the McSharry case, you need to do something. This is not right, it's not fair, it's not justice, and it's a very, very bad look as to how we treat women in this town. And it's on video, for Christ's sakes.
I'm going to add to that and be on record that I did ask Marcus, our city attorney, to recuse himself from this case because his firm dropped the ball on it with his wife, and I knew it was going to happen, and here we are today. It is absolutely deplorable. There is no excuse for it, and we have to do better. There's no excuse for it.
Did you want to make some comments?
Yeah,
Mr. McDowell?
Both to the mayor and Mr. Rip. I could explain criminal procedure and criminal law to you, but to be honest with you, I can't make you ever understand it because you don't want to. It's a political issue for both of you, and there are criminal issues that are still proceeding against Mr. McSharry. Rule 15.1 Alabama Rules of Criminal Procedure allow us to refile this. We plan on refiling it. Out of the 60, 70,000 cases that I've dealt with over the last 10 to 12 years in this city, I have never drafted or authored one complaint, not one. It is not my job to do it. I did not do it in this case.
You missed the deadline.
I'm talking.
You missed the deadline.
No, Mayor, that's not right.
Yes, you did.
I dismissed the appeal because it is quicker to get this case to trial if we go back and refile it as a new complaint. The rules of criminal procedure, again, I told you, I can explain.
No, you haven't told me anything because you don't talk to me.
I just said that to you. I can tell you that. I will never make you understand it because you don't want to understand it. Okay?
You always tell me I don't understand something, and it is the most ridiculous thing ever, because I have other attorneys looking at this, and they know that what is going on is wrong.
You hadn't talked to an attorney that knows anything about rules, and wherever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So are you saying that Matt McDonald doesn't understand the rules?
Okay. Can he finish?
It doesn't matter. He absolutely knows what happened here.
Okay, I would like to hear the rest of what the attorney has to say about this. I mean, he was attacked. I want to hear the defense.
In that case, we tried the defendant in the case. He was convicted in this court in a trial. He then appealed it. A judge dismissed the case. We appealed that. Based on a COVID order, we had a time frame to appeal the case that was extended to April 20th. We filed our appeal on the 17th. There was a subsequent COVID order that said there was non-jurisdictional issues that were not included in the original COVID order, and so we elected to dismiss our appeal. We then we are now going to move to refile the complaint pursuant to rule, I believe it's 15.1, that allows us to do that. It tolls the statute of limitations. That case will be retried here. That is a much quicker venue for the victim and for the witnesses in this case than going back and issuing a 1.5 to 2-year appeal process and then coming back and have to try it. So it's just specious. And just, you don't know what you're talking about, and you don't
I absolutely know what I'm talking about on this. And you know what? I asked for a full report on this, and Matt asked you too. I just let you speak. I am going to speak too, okay?
I'll let you get a chance, but can he please finish? He hasn't finished yet.
Yeah. This case, the old cases were consolidated, and they were told, we talked to the victim in the case who moved out of state. Your complaints about how it was screwed up was nothing to do with us, nothing to do with me.
The victim wasn't called, and I verified with Tut that she should have been called.
Second.
I'm going to say something here.
Do it after the meeting, Mayor. You're holding us up, and we don't agree with anything you're saying. So wait, and all you got to do is interrupt this gentleman. You will not let him speak.
Talked the whole time.
I make a motion. We adjourn this meeting.
That's fine. I'll continue
Have a motion.
videoing this.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay.
You guys do a lot of shouting at women.
Yes, they do.
Also,
Believe me, you should see
this
behind
was-
closed doors.
This